the way that I approach reparations is not in the brain-freezing way that word scares white people all over America. It's looking more broadly at how do we reconcile? How do we get to a point of reconciliation? And if I get into a big fight with my wife and I cause her harm, there is a process to the point where we can reconcile so that we can continue our loving marriage. And that is, first of all, my being aware of the harm that I've caused. I may be such a dummy that I just don't get what I did. And so my becoming aware, my being educated, so we as a society, there's an education process here to get to an awareness. And then there's the point of either apology or acknowledgement. If I caused a specific harm, I owe an apology to the person that I caused harm to. If I, and the way that I look at historic system of slavery, since I didn't live then, do I owe an apology? I don't think so. But I do owe the acknowledgement of the harm that was caused. And an institution like the United States government was alive in the year 1800 and is alive now, the same life. So our government owes that apology. And the House of Representatives a little over a month ago actually approved a House resolution apologizing for slavery and Jim Crow. And it is almost non-existent in the big wide world of media. It just slipped under the radar. And once you get past either apology or acknowledgement, then there's repair, reparation, same thing. How do I fix it? I've hurt you, the woman that I love. What can I do to repair the damage that's been caused? I broke my neighbor's window. How do I repair the damage? I pay for a new window. How do you repair the damage from historic slavery? Well, look at what exists today in terms of disparity in life, in access to education, healthcare, housing, jobs, life expectancy, incarceration rates, whatever it is. White people are up here and black people are here as a general rule. There's always exceptions. Everybody's going to say, look at Bill Cosby, Michael Jordan, Oprah Winfrey, and that proves that everything's fixed. The reality is that we have an unjust system, which is what I'm most interested in personally in looking at the repair, and that's where the reparation comes in. And once you get to a point, there was an audience a month or so ago, I was at this screening, which was almost equally split black and white, and they got into a very rich conversation after it was over, and a white woman stood up and said, what would sincere and acceptable reparations look like to the black folks in this room? And an 80-ish-year-old woman stood up, and she said, there are as many answers to that question as there are black people in this country. For me, at this moment, you asking that question of me is reparation. And so it's having the conversation about what it takes, because it's got to be acceptable. Anytime you're going to repair harm, it has to be acceptable to the person who has been harmed, has experienced that harm. That's when you can get to the point of grace, of forgiveness, of reconciliation. So my encouragement, and the way I try to walk through this in my book, is walking through these steps very logically and looking at what repair really is, and quit being so scared of a silly word. We're much more mature than that. We can deal with these issues. It's not as scary as I used to think it was. And that's what I hope, that the example of this family putting our bizarre little selves out into the world as an example that we can talk about this. We can heal.